appreciated our veterans and also young people that are currently serving. And so those that serve, you know, it's basically military, but we also appreciate, you know, all those that serve, whether it's the police officer, fireman. So Newark's always been very proactive and appreciates all those that give to make sure we have a safe community. So we go to the approval of the agenda. We can do it by hand. I need a motion and a second. So basically, the agenda is 3.1 is going to be public comment on closed session items only. Recess to closed session. And then 4.1 is evaluation of the superintendent. 4.2 is appointment. And then we come out of the adjourn. Now, if you want to speak, we have these forms that if you don't mind filling out for us.
I move that we approve the agenda as is.
So would you like to make a motion? Are you making it?
I'll move that we approve the agenda as is.
Okay, good. So,
I second.
Heather Gutierrez makes a motion. Who's the second? Kevin Martinez.
Yep.
Okay, please vote. Show your hands. Okay, everybody is unanimous. Okay, so now we get to the public comment on closed session items only. Ms. Bloom, you want to come up?
Always.
Then Ms. Parks. Rest. Yeah, just fill one of these out. If you would. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, it's me, Rachel Bloom, neighborhood resident, little kitten, Shaw science teacher, because one of my favorite people is up there and I can't yell. So I wanted to say that I could have sworn that something like this was on the board agenda on the November 7th meeting, and then I just, because I'm concerned, I know that the board is working on transparency, and so it just seems like a little strange maybe that there was just like a special board meeting. And then I noticed on the agenda it says like, you know, 4.2 or whatever it says, but then there's a little bit of a description underneath. And so maybe like what you just said, like kind of to explain a little bit more, that might be helpful to put on the agenda in the future, because I mean, it's kind of a small community, and so I knew it was on the agenda, but like I haven't heard anything about like what it could be. And like, you know, like usually word gets around. And so just maybe like a little bit more information, because I think some people are concerned that it seemed like a surprise thing or like a secret thing to make it like a special board meeting. So that's all. Thank you.
I can answer that, Ms. Bloom, real quick. It won't take long. I spoke to our attorney, Mr. Lou Lozano, and he's the one that gave us the title to put on the closed session. Now, last time we had closed session, our superintendent's contract goes through June 30th of 2020. So as we do the evaluation, we also talk about a contract extension. So that's why it was on closed session before. Okay, so all we talk about is contract. Anytime we get into talking about money, if the superintendent wants an increase or whatever, it has to be done in open session. But the contract itself can be done in closed session. Okay, so who's next? Ms. Parks?
I would also like to echo some of Rachel Bloom's concerns. You just had a meeting, and I think in the order of transparency, and we talked about this, and we talked about it when you were talking about school closure and the budget, and that, you know, how the language needs to convey to the community what's being done. And that's really nice that you got the consult from Lou Lozano, but are you telling me that when you talked to him that this is the exact language that he asked you to put in here? Because I would have trouble believing that he would say to put public employee appointment / employment, because it sounds like you're appointing someone. If you look at this government code section, there's various different things that fall within 54957 subdivision B1. And it gives you various different things. To say that this is now, you're talking about the contract, you know, for the public, I mean, when do you see a special meeting on a Wednesday night at 5 o'clock? Where do you see this kind of turnout? People don't know what's going on, and they want to have a voice in what's being done here. They don't want you going back there making a decision that we all have to live with. We're going to have to live with what you decide back there. There's no disclosure for us. Are you going to offer him a longer contract? If you're going to change the contract, where are we seeing what you're going to offer to where we even know what we're to address? I understand you can't go back there and talk about money. Because of the city of Bell, you can't offer any money back in closed session and make that happen back there. But you could offer him a 5-year contract that we all have to live with, that you had time, and we don't know what's going on. So that's why we're here. We want to hear what you have to say, and we're not going to even know that because there's nothing that's spelled out here, and you haven't said anything about what you're going to do once you go back there. And it's very disappointing. We are a small community, and we want to know, and this is not transparent.
I can show you the text I got from
I don't
Attorney
care what
Lozano.
Lou says.
Okay.
I don't care what Lou says.
Okay. So anyway, I've been doing this a long time, and I realize that no matter what we do as a board, and you guys elect us, that there's going to be sometimes where you disagree with us on stuff. This is confidential. Okay? We're going to discuss his contract. Okay? And if we decide that we're going to give her an extension, then that comes up in public session. Then we'll have the public that can comment on it. Okay? This is confidential because we're talking about an employee, which is the only employee we have as a board. It's the superintendent. Okay? Thank you, Ms. Parks. Mr. Bretz?
Good afternoon, members of the board and executive cabinet. My name is Liam Bretz. I'm here today to represent the reviews of my father, Paul Bretz, who unfortunately cannot be here today as he's working with the students in Washington. It's fitting today that the board is meeting in closed session to discuss the evaluation and employment of Superintendent Sanchez. November 15 marks the anniversary of my father's placement on administrative leave. Prior to this meeting, Mr. Sanchez met with parents to discuss their concerns. He posed several questions for reflection. I'd like to spend the remainder of my time answering these questions Mr. Sanchez posed to the group. In May, my dad committed himself to exposing issues facing administrative leave. He wanted to demonstrate through his actions that ethics matter. Mr. Sanchez, you asked the parent committee what is going right with this district. My dad stood up to you and modeled that what it means to stand for convictions. We are now beginning to see that others are replicating his actions. Students are advocating for the rights to be heard, to be taught, to learn, and to lead. Last week, Ms. Wazertone stood and told the board that teachers are tired of living in fear of retribution. Mr. Merritt and others explained that teachers want to cast a vote of no confidence because of the past actions of Mr. Sanchez. This community wants to have something better. Students, parents, and staff are fighting for their rights. A quarter of Newark Memorial and over half of the district leadership have left since my dad's ordeal became public. That doesn't work for NUSD. Mr. Sanchez's inability to listen to opposing opinions doesn't work for NUSD. Just ask district lawyers and Mrs. Black. Their opinions were ignored. As a result, Mr. Sanchez, Ms. Saavedra, and the entire board were served notice today that they are being sued. That doesn't work for NUSD. Mr. Sanchez's belief that he is somehow deserving of a raise when classified and certificated personnel are being asked that they can't take raises due to a multi-million-dollar deficit doesn't work for NUSD. Quite simply, Mr. Sanchez's actions and lack of integrity are barriers to success. The district has lost credibility. Mr. Sanchez approved the submission of materials to California Teaching Commission that omitted witness statements, omitted key witness names, and false statements about the reasoning for police officers' attendance at board meetings.
Mr. President, excuse me, I don't have some.
I'm very short.
Okay, thank you.
The result of these actions and loss of credibility are now being seen with the inability to recruit and retain quality staff. There are no bad teams, only bad leaders. The first step to resolving the district's issues is to find someone who has demonstrated the record of putting students first, someone who believes that ethics matter, someone who has the willingness to sacrifice himself for the right reasons, someone who believes leaders have a responsibility
Thank
to
you.
look out for serve others before themselves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, Mr. Castillo. I forgot to mention that he had 3 minutes. So on this one, this is probably comment on an agenda item. As many people that want to speak can speak on this. Okay.
Thank you. First, I'd like to comment on the obvious impropriety with which this meeting was called. Although the board has legal authority to call special meetings at the discretion of the majority, I believe the people of Newark and our teachers feel that the board was trying to pull the wool over our eyes, so to speak. I sincerely hope that the special meeting is absolutely necessary, but I join the sentiment of others in believing that the board and/or the superintendent is attempting to deceive the public. Board members, you are the employer of the superintendent. You decide the terms of his contract and you vote on this contract regularly. The superintendent should align with the district's core values and mission statement and execute them to the best of his ability. Fundamentally, there should be utmost respect and care for the education, safety, and welfare of students and teachers. Ultimately, it is the district's responsibility to educate the children of Newark, and this cannot occur unless students and teachers are collectively secure and comfortable in the environment provided for them. Today in closed session, we will evaluate the superintendent. You will determine whether or not he has acted appropriately and ensuring that the district operates smoothly. You will discuss his appointment in this district and whether or not he remains capable of serving this district. Let me tell you right now that the superintendent has acted inappropriately in his official capacity, and he is no longer fit to be employed as superintendent of the Newark Unified School District. Patrick Sanchez has engaged in manipulation and intimidation throughout the course of his appointment as superintendent. He has forced teachers to act according to his will without considering their points of view. He has directed the executive cabinet and the executive director of human resources in particular to move personnel without due process. He has also directed this individual to ignore the advice of selection committees when hiring certain staff and administrators and hired his personal preference instead. He has attempted to curry favor with me by scheduling bi-weekly meetings to address any concerns I might have, by directing MOT to clear out the old woodshop room in Newark Memorial for club use, and by attempting to send me to the CSBA conference in San Diego for a training with California student board members. And finally, he has attempted to direct the ASB Executive Board of Newark Memorial to remove me from office by reminding them of the process by which they may remove members and asking if they review YouTube videos of my speeches at this podium. I hope the wheels are turning now, both for the board and for any skeptics. I hope you've gained a clearer picture of the tactics this superintendent has employed to get his way in New York schools. So now, board members, I hope you understand the implications of retaining Mr. Sanchez as superintendent of this district. In closed session, I want you to understand that there are teachers and staff across this district who fear that they will lose their jobs because of the superintendent at any given moment.
30 seconds.
Okay. In closing, I would like to clarify my intentions. The ASB Executive Board of Newark Memorial High School has read this statement and fully supports its contents. The Executive Board consists of the President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer, and Student Board Member. The ASB Executive Board of Newark Memorial High School does not support the superintendent's employment in this district any longer and requests that he submit a resignation as soon as possible. If the superintendent does not wish to resign, the ASB Executive Board requests that the Board of Education either move to terminate his contract of employment or decline to renew it at its expiration and move to appoint a new superintendent. In either case, the ASB Executive Board requests that the superintendent addresses the concerns brought forth between June 6, 2019 and tonight in open and regular session, including a public apology where appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bauer?
Hi, I'm Thomas Bauer. I teach AP here, pre-K to 6th grade. It's my daughter, Lydia, right over there. She's 3. We live in Hayward. We'll be coming here. More money. More money. Yeah. It's heartbreaking that I'm here 5:20 in the evening when we should be at home with dinner with our 3-month-old daughter as well. My wife is on maternity leave and teaches here as well. This is highly unfortunate. This really reeks. This is bad. You guys pulling this kind of stunt, just bad news. You know what the right thing is to do, but you choose not to do it repeatedly. I'm willing to give people a chance, second chance, all that stuff. Your first chance was going to the newspaper, getting interviewed, and then mentioning the Holocaust and teacher layoffs in the same sentence. And then now, we've just had, I would just term it, 4 years of fascism? Kind of sounds like that to me. It's dictatorship. Nothing collaborative, nothing democratic about it. Have you guys ever considered, the 5 of you, have you ever considered that not one person, specifically him, but everybody else that sits up here, none of them work one day, not 1 hour, not 1 minute, not 1 second with the students, ever. It's us. Always has been, always will be. We don't need help. We just need people to go ahead and do what we ask. Not to be honest, be forthright. If you think for a second that my attitude is any less than stellar, we have a saying in sports, attitude reflects leadership. And there you have it, right there. Now, keep in mind, I'm really holding my tongue for the sake of my daughter. Clean up your act and do it fast. Or get rid of him. Put one of us in charge. See what happens. And if you find it all too easy for us to do it, we could do it on a lot less money. Here's an idea. Why don't you guys fire all of them? Offer their jobs back on the teacher pay scale. How about that? Some really great ideas come in really small places. You guys ever heard of Comcast? They started a really small cable company in the middle of America, but by making shrewd, smart business decisions, they grew into a monster, a model for how to move forward. You guys want to rename everybody executives? Executives, like it's run like a business? It's a business model, it's a school. It's a school district. They're running this like a business, it kind of seems like it's PG&E, just up close and personal. Right? Just slaughter them all, burn down their homes, everything they've worked for, and then at the same time have the adults ask for a raise. Like the PG&E people, oh, I want a bonus. Yeah, right. It took the judge to shoot him down.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
You're the judge.
Good evening.
Thank you.
I'm Dave. But I know your job is difficult as board members. I know that you kind of hear junk all the time and not a lot of positive. I respect the position that you're in. But with that being said, you've heard for several months the issues that have come up with community members, with your students, with the teachers. And to me, as a parent and as a business owner in the city and as someone who lives in the city, it's alarming that we're here again, discussing problems that I really feel like probably should have been addressed earlier on. We've had issues brought up by teachers who are being, from what I understand, they're having to deal with fear, like the fear-mongering tactics, which to me seems like a big red flag. But you also have really poor hiring of employees that, just to echo what Ms. Tong said from last week's meeting, we've had so many principals and so many people that are on administrative leave and so many other people that have been fired. I mean, these are all things that are right in your face. And I think what the community is, many of the community members are saying, and from listening to the students, from just hearing that the students are actually teaching classes and nothing is being done, and from listening to what Caesar has said numerous times, I have found them to be moving to the point where I'm actually kind of begging you guys that you guys have open eyes and that you listen to the community, because no one's here to bash anyone. It's because we're here out of concern for our kids, our community, and the future of Newark. And if we don't do something, I realize you guys are in a tough spot, but at the same time, clearly there is a problem. And whether you're talking about employment status or extending a contract, I would never extend one of my assistants' contracts with me to work for me if there were all these issues going on and there were so many complaints coming in, and she was costing me probably close to $1 million and putting people on administrative leave. That would be alarming to me if I was in my position running a business. So I guess
what I want to say to you is, I really hope that you guys are listening and that you're looking at the number of people that are here and the people that have been coming. Because respectfully, like, we all want what's best for our kids and we want what's best for our community. And I really do hope that you guys have been listening and that you're aware of how concerned and upset the community is and concerned for our kids. And that's it. Thank you.
It's 5:26. We appreciate everyone that came up here and shared your thoughts with us, and now we're going to go to closed session. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez, is what you're gonna say after when you come back and be broadcast?
No.
No, normally when you have special meetings, and Shar had to take some time off, we don't normally broadcast it, and but if anybody wants to sit with me, I'll be glad, or any one of us individually, and we'd be glad to share. But you got to remember, just like the situation at the high school with the teacher and the vice principal, when you're dealing with employees, it's confidential, and they have rights, and so we can only share so much. But
we've got conferences tomorrow, and we can't stay late.
I think, Ray, all people are wanting to know is if you're going to make an addendum to the contract to where you would extend time. If it's a personnel matter, I don't think anybody wants to everybody would understand that. But if you're going to extend the contract is not on here for us to be able to view. So if you're going to do an addendum, which you're going to attach to the current contract, that's what people are looking for.
okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Rick.